Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. And today we are here with a video on the rise of soccer cards lately, in particular, sort of the mainstay GOATs and the new GOAT, that is, with Messi, Ronaldo, and the likes of Lamine Yamal. This has been something I've been feeling for a while. We do the weekly Fanatics reviews, as you guys know, and throughout those weekly reviews, at least over the last couple of years, you can kind of tell things are creeping up a little bit. But recently I went on over to Card Ladder and I was searching through their indexes, and it's pretty shocking how much things have actually gone up for some of these guys. So, wanted to make a video talking about that today. Hopefully you're excited. After 2022 and 2023, where things were a little bit more bleak, I think this is a welcome change. Is it too much too fast? We'll talk about it. Let's go ahead and head on over to the site. So here we are on Card Ladder, a site I use quite a lot. I'm looking to get a affiliate link so that I can share that with you guys. Be like one of the few ways I could ever make money off this channel, at least for the time being. But I do like the site a lot, and I don't, usually I just use it for the sales feature. Like you can go up here and look up sales and see how things have sold in the past. But they do have indexes, which I've talked about in the past. They're clearly not perfect. They're missing a lot of stuff, especially in soccer, but you sort of get a general idea. And I check out this tab every now and then just to see how, different segments are doing, right? These green ones that you can see on the top, Messi, Ronaldo, my quote-unquote real soccer cards, these are custom indexes, so things that I've just thrown all the cards I can for those players into an index, and as you can see, they're doing quite well. When we go on down, down at the bottom, there's a few red, sort of the oddball stuff. Maradona's actually down here too. But obviously, when you average this all out, it's doing pretty well. Pele's up 6%, Cristiano Ronaldo up 46%, Messi up 83%. So let's talk more about those in particular. Keep in mind, these are my indexes. When we go and look at the larger index, the Cristiano Ronaldo would be down a little bit more. The Messi's about the same. So let's go look at the player. Here we have Cristiano Ronaldo, and you can see the all-time graph, right? So this is going to be an underlying thing that you will have to keep in mind. Sure, we're up over the last year or two, but, the greater trend, clearly we're not at all-time highs by any means. We're not even close. That's, I guess, both a good and a bad thing, depending on how you want to look at it. More interesting, I guess, will be the 1 year chart and the 2 year chart. So I guess we'll start with 2 years, and this will kind of go back to what I was just talking about. This is that Ronaldo is sort of coming off a pretty decent fall. Now, I will say I think a lot of this graph is pretty heavily influenced by his rookies, the Mega Cracks card, the football sticker, and I think that that's very fair. But the Mega Cracks card has had a really rough time from the standpoint that it used to be equal to the price of a Messi Mega Cracks, and there's double the pop for Ronaldo. As Messi won the World Cup and Ronaldo went to Saudi, the dynamics of supply and demand changed a little bit, and with double the pop, that did not go in its favor. So I think that that's really heavily weighting on this, and also at the same time, during these 2 years, once we sort of had this, somewhat of a correction here, as you can see, it started about December of 2023, seems to be the low on Cristiano Ronaldo. We hit about 31,000 in this index, and now we're up to 41. So from that all-time low, you're looking at like a 33% gain, but I don't believe we've seen a Mega Cracks card sell yet in a PSA 10. So, it might have more room to bounce up if that actually performed well next time it's sold. Over the last year, that'll be where the, I guess, more sort of shocking number is. As you can see here, 30% on the rate of growth over the last year, which, given what we were seeing all time here, that's a pretty welcome change, I would say, generally speaking. So over the last 6 months in particular, also 20%. Some more of the growth has come over the last 6 months, and I guess even more so over the last 3, probably, 18% over the last 3. So it's doing really well. And again, we haven't seen some of those big rookie cards in PSA 10 sell in a long while. I just checked it out, and when I say we haven't seen the Mega Cracks in a 10 sell or the football sticker sell in a 10, it's been about from back here. They sold last year in October, maybe even November, so they did sell back here, but they have yet to sell in the last 6 to 8 months. Just taking a look in terms of cards, we can see what has risen the most in terms of the last year change. These are weighted, of course, so, just because a Prism base goes up 100% doesn't mean it's going to have a huge impact on the index per se. But as you can see here, it's a nice mix. You got Prism base 2014, a Silver Raw from 2018, you got a Mega Cracks BGS 9, SP Authentic, sort of a mix of a lot of different semi-notable Ronaldo cards. Again, as I mentioned, the card ladder index doesn't have necessarily all the cards you'd like. There's not tons of Topps Chrome Color. There's not tons of Flawless. And granted, they want to track cards that actually sell a lot and have a lot of volume. They don't want to track, out of 20 cards. But all in all, looking really good. And Cristiano Ronaldo doing good during this time is also, I would say, a pretty nice sign in the sense that he's not doing anything of note in terms of his career. It's just sort of Cristiano Ronaldo and the legend of Ronaldo doing well in the market at this current time. Now we go on over to Messi, and his all-time chart looks a little bit better. I mean, with soccer, you're always going to see this huge, massive run, and I think it's fair that we came back down when you think about it. The index here is at 4.7 thousand in early 2020. 1 year later, we were at 106,000, so a small 27x. So was a correction necessary, if not deserved? I believe so. So I think that that's fair, that we sort of get down to a more reasonable range. As a collector, I think this huge dip is amazing. A lot of people look at this chart and they say, wow, you guys are down a lot. But I didn't own a lot of Messi cards or Ronaldo cards at the all-time high. It was hard to own any, right? But when prices are much more attainable, this makes it a lot better for someone that actually wants to collect soccer. So over the last 2 years with Lionel Messi, this is pretty drastic. Rate of growth here, 84% over the last couple years. We can see here June of 2023, it was sitting at 28,000 and now currently at 52. So pretty impressive, I would say, to say the least, over the last year. Again, most of it's going to come over the last year, 84% over the last 2, 63 over the last year, which is just crazy. Again, you can sort of feel this, but to see it here in a nice chart with some numbers is just all the more confirming and really, really impressive. I guess it's slowed down a bit lately, but even slowing down, I guess at this point, was still like a cool 15% increase over the last 5 months. So in terms of cards, again, he's going to have a lot of the same sorts of cards as Ronaldo, just sort of a mixed bag. But you have his Color Blast topping the list, which is kind of surprising. Beyond that, you have his Mega Cracks Campio rookie. That apparently is up to 2,500. That must have been nearly 1,200 a year ago. Mega Cracks BGS 9.5. Now this is a little wonky in the sense that this 9.5 that sold was a Gem Plus 9.5, so, take that for what it's worth. PSA 9 up 73%. You got his Refractor right leg forward from 2017 Chrome. Gold Merlin, some more Mega Cracks, PSA 10 Prism Base. Prism Base making a run, huh? What kind of world are we living in now? But yeah, I mean, just tons of cards that are doing really, really well. If you scroll all the way down, of course, there would be some that haven't traded, some that are doing poor, but it's few and far between, and a lot of the ones that are doing poor are, just kind of cards that people probably wouldn't see as key cards, so it's a little bit more reasonable. Lamine Yamal, more the same. Of course, Lamine Yamal, not a proven GOAT, very much the prospect of the moment, and has been for the last year and a half at this point. And yeah, I mean, his cards are on an absolute tear right now, of course, with the sort of Ballon d'Or candidacy going on. Everyone's fueling the flames. So this index was at 323 just a month ago, and now is at 730. So, I mean, if we just look over the last 3 months, I mean, nearly a 200% rate of growth. It's just crazy. Over the last year, 170%, just going absolutely bonkers. It's fun and exciting for the time being. Of course, as always, I like to warn caution with these sorts of prospects, but I was warning caution even, during the downtime. So, clearly, if you would have bought when I was warning caution and sold now, you could have done very, very well, despite me and I'm sure many others sort of warning of the perils of prospecting modern. This is an example of a time where it actually hit and is doing really, really well. In terms of his cards, I mean, there are some crazy rates of growth. This Mega Cracks one, I've seen some sort of, suspect things going on with the Mega Cracks. The Mega Cracks is a highly produced card, and you can't see it fully here on the right, so I'll try to pull it up big. But yeah, I mean, that rate of growth, from what I understand, there's some shilling and some sort of sketchy things going on eBay, and that would sort of make sense over the last month. I mean, it's, it was 2K, and now it's apparently 7. I mean, whenever you see a chart like that, it's just a little scary, right? Especially on a Pop 200 card that's still getting graded. It just came out, a year or two ago, so there's going to be plenty more. He's got tons of other cards to choose from. Always just a word of caution in that regard. But his cards are doing really, really well. Of course, being a Ballon d'Or candidate at the age of 17 is going to do that. But it's kind of a crazy spot we're in, where two of the GOATs from this generation, Messi, Ronaldo, are doing amazingly well, and the potential GOAT of the next generation is also absolutely roaring. So we'll go look at players and player indexes here. I'm going to see what the best performing ones are over the last year, and we're going to go ahead and grab just sort of the main sports here, the main 5, minimum amount of cards. I'm going to go with 49, and we're going to see basically the guys that actually have a lot of cards in these databases, who's doing the best, right? So we start SGA, Saquon Barkley, Baker Mayfield, yada yada. In terms of actual GOATs, like all-time greats of their sport, not just players that had a really good year and are, sort of soaring. All-time greats, the first one, the highest performing one over the last year is Lionel Messi here. 134 cards, 63%. We don't really need to talk about the graph and all that because we just did, but I just find this really, really impressive that he is the best performing in terms of GOATs. Frank Chance has more cards than him. I have no clue who that is. I'm sure pre-war baseball guys love him, but in terms of the GOAT conversation, I've never heard the name. So we're going to go with Lionel Messi as the best performing GOAT out of any of the big 5 sports. If we scroll down a little bit more, if we're just not talking like people still building their legacy, like you could argue Shohei is, and I get that. But even beyond that, next one up is Cristiano Ronaldo. I know he's doing a decent bit worse than Messi over the last year, but still 30.5% over the last year is sick. And he is the second best performing GOAT in terms of, all-time greats that have actually solidified their legacy. Beyond that, you got Michael Jordan here at 29, Walter Payton, Pete Rose. You got some good names beneath that. But in terms of the best performing players that are all-time greats of their sport, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi are number 1 and 2 across the board in sports cards right now, which is just crazy to think about. I knew they were doing well. You could just tell by following prices and auctions, but like this well, I would have had no clue. And I also would have assumed other sports and other GOATs were also doing pretty well. Like, I see tons of stuff about how Jordan's running, Jordan's doing amazing, Jordan's doing great. I mean, he's beneath both of these guys. Now, granted, Jordan didn't have as much of a fall as these guys, so maybe these guys have more room to grow in that regard, comparing to past prices. But, comparing to past prices is a tricky endeavor. So to see these guys, number 1, number 2, is just crazy to me. And so to round out, we'll talk about, sort of where we've come and where we are, right? I think it's important to sort of temper expectations and realize, we're moving. But overall, as a soccer card space in general, as you can see, there was a huge run, a huge fall, and now we're sort of slow and steady and working our way back up. And I think this greater index is a little bit lagging. I think it has some players in here that probably don't deserve to be, that could be weighing it down. Of course, if you look at Messi, Ronaldo, they're moving a little quicker, and I think that's probably more true to form with soccer in general. But all to say, temper your expectations. I don't think we're going back to all-time high pricing anytime soon. Do I think we could get there eventually? Sure. But, it could be a long time before we get there, so I don't want to sort of stoke any flames here. Unlike certain sports card influencer individuals, this one, for example, here.
So the World Cup is next year in America?
I did not know that.
You didn't know that? Oh, so these cards right here, Ronaldo flawless. Next year, the World Cup is in the United States. I don't think people realize how big that is going to be for just sports and soccer in general.
It's going to be huge for sports and soccer too. It's going to be crazy. I'm not going to let this video play more. Actually, I will.
Ronaldo and Yamal, Messi already plays in America for, MLS. For Ronaldo, Yamal, Mbappe, I need some Yamal. He's actually got some Yamal right here.
Okay. Point being, he doesn't even know how to say Mbappe, and he was flexing a one-of-one optic Messi that he just bought. He's showing off other huge cards in anticipation for the World Cup, trying to get people excited, so presumably he can flip it to them. That's the type of stuff that comes around with the World Cup, and I just want to make sure that people have sort of more even-keel expectations when it comes to this type of stuff. World Cup's next year, here's this 80k Lamine Yamal card that he's going to show off. It's a gold kaboom from last year. I'll spoil it. You don't need to watch the video. But, sure, the World Cup comes next year. Let's go back to the index here. If you look at this soccer card index, where do you think the World Cup was, right? Where do you think that is? Point it out on the index for me. Right here? No, that's 2021 all-time high, right? Let's find it. 2022 World Cup is somewhere in between these two spots right here. So, as you can see, the World Cup didn't do a whole lot, right? Now, of course, there were greater factors at play. I think the market in general is going through a correction, and so the World Cup didn't do a whole lot for it. Will it be a lot more meaningful in terms of card pricing in 2024? Possibly. But what I always want to warn against is, we go look at these cards, the ones that are really sort of the biggest in this index, if we look at value, 320K for a Messi, Alifa's gold, all this type of stuff, like the $10,000 cards, the 20, the 100, the, whatever. The really big cards that actually sort of swing stuff like this, no one's buying it at the 2026 World Cup because they just found out about soccer, right? I think 2026 World Cup is going to be great for people sort of having the olive branch reach out to them and getting into soccer cards. I think it's going to be a catalyst for years to come, decades to come after that. Do I think that it's going to be some huge thing that happens immediately? No. I mean, think about how you got into cards. Think about how you got to where you are today. You didn't start buying the biggest, the best of the best cards. You probably bought some small cards and eventually worked your way up. So while things are going good, the World Cup's next year, everyone's excited. I just want to, remind you, try and be, a little even keel about this and take things slow and steady, enjoy the hobby. And, I think prices going up for the first time in ages is a reassuring thing because times are getting a little bleak there. So that's going to be it for the video today. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. We'd love to see your thoughts down below in terms of the indexes, what you thought. Maybe the influencers that are going to be coming here as well. I sort of let my feelings known about that on Instagram a couple days ago. If you want to see more videos like this, as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.